What is up? Welcome to John Smoltz Day here on Flippin' Bats, where every single week the Hall of Famer John Smoltz joins us no matter where he is, no matter what he's doing. He was on the call for the Yankees Blue Jays series. He will be on the call for the ALCS that'll start in Toronto. But he headed home for a day or two in the meantime, and that's where he's joining us here today. We're going to talk a lot about that series. Yankees Blue Jays was awesome. He was locked in on it. Who impressed him most from the Toronto Blue Jays? What about the team, the Toronto Blue Jays, impressed him the most? What went wrong with the New York Yankees? Why are they going home? We'll dive in on that series, which I'm really excited about. We're going to talk about every other series as well. Mariners, Tigers, we'll touch on that. We're getting a Game 5 on Friday with Tarek Skubal on the mound to take the whole series and move on to the ALCS. Who does he think wins that game? Dodgers, Phillies. Did it surprise him that the Dodgers went into Philadelphia and won both games there? Obviously, Phillies won Game 3. We are recording on Thursday morning, so we're through Game 3 of that series. This will probably come out around the time those games are playing, but we recorded this before the NLDS Game 4s between Dodgers, Phillies, and Cubs, Brewers. How have the Phillies starters been able to silence Shohei Ohtani at the plate? For the most part. And in Shohei Ohtani's standards, the Phillies pitching has been able to keep him in line. What have they been doing to keep him a little more quiet at the plate? We'll talk about that. And then one thing that really fires John Smoltz up is the opener. He was a guy that was a starting pitcher for the majority of his career. He also closed games. So as a pitcher himself, one that started and closed, how does he feel about teams in the playoffs using an opener and then following a script and going to the starting pitcher right after that? And let me tell you, it fires him up. So this is going to be a really fun conversation. I appreciate you all for watching or listening, whatever you do. And I appreciate John Smoltz, as always, for joining us. Again, Flippin' Bats is presented by FanDuel. Bet baseball with us all season long on America's #1 sports book. This is going to be an awesome conversation. I really appreciate you all for listening or watching. So without further ado, let's get to him now. The Hall of Famer from the Atlanta Braves, John Smoltz. All right, and I am pumped now to be joined, as we are every single week, by the Hall of Famer, John Smoltz, who just got off the call with Yankees, Blue Jays. John, how are we doing this week?
I'm doing good. Every time we think about what we know about baseball, and right when we go into a series, you think this is how it's going to play out. You realize it's baseball. And the series didn't play out the way I thought on both ends, but it was a fun series to cover.
You got your passport ready?
I do. Yeah. Had it ready to make what looks like could be a deep run for the Toronto Blue Jays. They are playing about as good a baseball, team-oriented baseball that you could play at this time of the year, which is what you need.
What impressed you most about the Toronto Blue Jays? You were there for the whole series, 4 games, calling it as locked in as you can be for a series. What impressed you most about the Toronto Blue Jays?
How they took the soul of the New York Yankees and just ripped it out. Like, it made them feel like they were not even in the same category. That doesn't happen very often. And you think about how good they were offensively. They went to another level. You think how good the pitching was for the New York Yankees, and they looked like they had never won 18 games, 16 games like some of those guys. It was impressive to watch baseball throw back 20 years ago, where putting the ball in play and making a pitcher's nightmare happen right before their eyes. That's what I was impressed with. There was a lot of talk about there are a couple guys slumping, 6 days off. They flat out mashed and did everything you have to do. At one point, had more home runs than strikeouts. I just think they were very more consistent. They scored 5+ runs every game, and you give them credit, man. They executed a game plan perfectly.
Who would you say on that team impressed you most? Because I was looking at this series as a whole, and it was really interesting. Vladdy Jr., a superstar, stepped up and was fantastic. If you watch the games and you hadn't watched the Toronto Blue Jays a ton all year, 1 through 9, there's going to be a few names in that lineup that you might not have ever heard of. And then you have a pitcher that hadn't thrown a pitch in professional baseball before this year started, and he was one of the heroes of this series. So you can really go a lot of different directions here. John, who impressed you the most from the Toronto Blue Jays?
Yeah, I had to do some checking to see if there was a team that had six different guys with 3+ hits in a game, and that there's only been one other team that, I guess in the Blue Jays era. But Clement was one of those guys that I probably knew from afar, but didn't know really what kind of player he's turned into being. I mean, you mentioned you could go in a bunch of directions, but this guy just got hot and plays solid defense and just attacks the ball. And first pitch, it just seemed like every time he was up, it was a hit. I think he went 7 for his last 9 or something crazy. So he really impressed me. But everybody in the lineup impressed me. That doesn't happen very often, where you look at 9 guys and you go, man, they bought in. There's no free swing from their, you know, it was a complete team effort.
I was listening to the game, I'm watching the game when Trey Savage pitched, and you had a lot of high praise for the kid and talking about his arm slot and just him as a pitcher and how impressed you were. A few days removed now from game 2 of the series, where he had one of the most dominant rookie postseason debuts for a guy 22 or under, really any rookie. What would you say about the performance that Trey Savage gave in game 2?
Well, we know young players have made an impact. Young pitchers have had incredible starts. This was an execution I don't think anybody saw coming. His fastball command was really, really good, but his splitter was unhittable. He exposed the New York Yankees left-handed hitters to the point where 0 for 29 against the pitch, right? Like, that just doesn't happen. And so for him to be this calm and be in a moment this big, it only adds to the future of what his role and future is going to be with the Toronto Blue Jays. Having said all that, there's nowhere to go from that. This is like, he's going to have regression normally, because that just is not possible to have that kind of start. And you saw it with Cam. As good as Cam was for the Yankees, there's no way to repeat the 12 strikeout, no walk, 8 inning, but he pitched good enough and very, very much put the Yankees in position to win. So that's all you can ask from a pitcher. And I think golly, I'm shaking my head. I haven't watched 2 back-to-back starts like that against a prominent #1 offense in baseball and see that kind of execution right out of the gate.
Where would you say, obviously, Yankees going home now, a lot of expectations coming into this year, into this series even. Where would you say, if you could pinpoint, where do you think the Yankees went wrong in this series?
I still think the one thing that comes up every time we talk about the Yankees, they're built for 162. I don't know if that lineup is built for best of 5, best of 7. Over the course of the postseason, when you swing and miss that much and you get exposed specifically by some, not one pitch, but a couple pitches, it makes it tough. You see the explosion, you see the 7, 8, 9 runs. Um, look, they did battle. There's no quit in them. I mean, but they scored a lot of runs when the game was over. And when the rally happened in game 3, you figured, like, well, could this carry over? They now have the leverage and they have the best situation going forward in game 4, and they just didn't come up with the big hit and put the ball in play at the right time. And fair or not, I mean, the numbers are the numbers for the regular season. You can't deny them. They beat up a lot of pitchers. But when it comes to the elite pitchers and the time where you really are asking a lot of some of the swing and miss power guys, it didn't come at the right time for the New York Yankees.
Yeah, absolutely. Yankees are now heading home. The Toronto Blue Jays, as we speak, are the first team to punch their ticket into the Final Four. Another one that's going to be a game 5, Mariners, Tigers. I know you've been locked in on Blue Jays, Yankees, but all I'll ask here is, John, who you got in a game 5? Tarek Skubal, back on the mound for the Tigers. The Mariners have beat him 3 times, but he pitched well in game 2 of the series. So who you got in Mariners Tigers game 5 winner advances?
I tell you, it's another incredible scenario that you think of just when you think the Tigers have run out of gas. They come up off the mat. Same thing with the Mariners. The kind of mirror image of themselves offensively. When they get clicking, they can put up a 4 or 5 spot. But I just think when Skubal is when you show stats 0-3, it doesn't make sense, right? Yes, you said he's pitched really good, but I think, the one thing that the Mariners have done to him is exposed his changeup at the opportunistic time. And I think he'll be on high alert for some of those things and mix it in places where solo home runs should not beat you. It shouldn't. And you if you're a stud like him and you can hold a team to 2 runs or less, you're going to take your chances for that team to move on. So it couldn't play out any better for the Tigers to have their horse. It would play out better if he didn't have to pitch and he could start game 1 in the next series, but it is what it is for the Tigers. They've relied on this style of play all year, and they have a moment. He has a moment, and so does Seattle, trying to get to a level they haven't been to in a long time.
Another series we're getting a game 4 on. We're recording Thursday morning. Dodgers Phillies is at 6 o'clock Eastern time. What I want to ask you about this series, John, is are you surprised that the Dodgers went into Philly and won both games there in Philadelphia?
I'm not surprised by the way they pitched. I thought that a split. Certainly, Philadelphia is well versed in this area, and they've had their own struggles of late with expectations through the roof. But the pitching was unbelievable for the Dodgers, and even the runs that Philly got early were kind of not gifted, but aided by certain plays that weren't made. So this is still two juggernaut teams, and Philly has so much moxie. They're not going to be intimidated by being down 2-0. And maybe in a, in a weird way, what they've learned in the past against the Arizona Diamondbacks might actually help them in the scenario they're in now. And instead of losing those last couple games when they were up, maybe they can win those last couple games and show everybody why they're still one of the best teams in the National League. But their matchup, they knew it was going to be a great one. The only advantage they had was home field. And when they lost home field advantage, now they're going to have to show how they can bounce back and bring it back to Philly.
It's funny with this series and the Dodgers in the postseason. All of the talk was just get to the Dodgers pen. They're gonna blow it. The Dodgers pen isn't great. And then in game 1, they went dominant Shohei to Tyler Glasnow to Roki Sasaki in the back end. And it's like, wait a second, this was supposed to be a weakness, and now we're getting Tyler Glasnow out of the pen. Which, John, we've talked about it for weeks. The one advantage they have this year, which is opposite of last year, is starting pitching depth. And what that allowed them to do was, after playing in the wild card, still start Shohei Ohtani in game 1 and then turn to Tyler Glasnow out of the bullpen.
Yeah, they're going to listen. Dave only trusts a couple guys in their regular bullpen, but he trusts his starters to be and backfill it, right? I mean, he's not going to go down with the what if guys. He's going to have to trust the guys he knows that if he doesn't get it done, hey, these are guys I trusted. It just didn't happen. They had too many question marks coming in out of their bullpen, so they shifted into a role of using high leverage guys, their starters, and I think it works out well for them. I don't think this is a scenario like in the past where they used 3 starters in game 1 for no reason other than it looked good and it felt good and analytics told them this is what you do. They've learned from that. And I think that's why they've got a couple rings now. And I think Dave Roberts has learned how to navigate this time of the year with his eyes and information and make decisions based on both.
What have you seen from this series with the lefty starters being able to keep Shohei Ohtani pretty quiet for when it comes to who Shohei Ohtani is and what he's able to do? For Shohei Ohtani terms, he's been pretty quiet, especially against those lefty studs that the Phillies have in their rotation? Is it just that they're left-handed? We've seen Shohei hit lefties well before. How are they approaching him in this series?
I think it's the high quality lefty, man. There are some pretty good ones there, and they can neutralize some of the strength that Ohtani is going to hit majority of his homers against righties. There's more righties in the league than there are lefties. But to neutralize him right out of the gate, I know we did get that one, but I think the biggest thing for Shohei is he's got all the eyes in the world on him now, right? And so it is a little different for him. And he's going to navigate the same way that Aaron Judge will eventually navigate. Numbers will always work themselves out if you get enough chances. But the focus at the postseason level is always going to be at the elite level. And you're just not going to let that guy beat you. And I think that's a big, big difference of when Shohei is doing his thing.
John, last one I want to ask you today, because it's been something on my mind watching playoffs a lot. And I feel like you're the perfect one to ask because you were a starting pitcher. You've pitched in the pen as a closer as well. So what I see a lot in the postseason, and sometimes for managers that it surprised me that they're doing it, is going with an opener followed by a specific script, right? We saw it in game 3, Dodgers-Phillies. They started Aaron Nola, which everybody questioned at the time. And then he went out and was nasty and throwing harder than he has almost all year. But they took him out when they planned to take him out and then brought in Ranger Suarez. We saw Pat Murphy, who's incredible with the Brewers, start Aaron Ashby as an opener, who gave up a 3-run homer and then turned to Mizorowski. So first question would be, as a pitcher, how would it be weird for you in the postseason to say, okay, I've started all year long, but now I'm going to come in the second inning? Like, what's going through these pitchers' minds when they hear that's happening?
Yeah, it's one of my biggest. I'm not even going to use the word. I think if I were in an era where I started 28 games for a club and you counted on me, whether I was great or not, and then you tell me I can't start the first inning and I'm going to pitch in the second inning, I think it would be time for me to move on to another organization. And I know that sounds pretty harsh, but I get the strategy on paper and I get all of the things. If it's a special circumstance and it's not one of your marquee guys, I kind of get it, but you're in that position for a reason. And the Toronto Blue Jays, for example, had no other option. Based on the roster, they were going to do a bullpen game. They have done bullpen games. They'd only had 3 starters. But the Chicago Cubs, trying to get through one inning, not use Imanaga, that to me, that's a tough one. If I'm that pitcher, unless I've got total buy-in, we've seen in the past. The Dodgers, like I said, Dodgers did this 5 years ago, and it failed. And there's things that I'm not saying they don't all work or that they all fail. I just think the mentality is so different. And you're asking guys now, young guys, not as drastic because they don't have the history and they don't have the amount of innings and they haven't made that many starts. But on paper, it all looks great. And it only takes one guy to mess up for that formula to not work. That's the danger. And, we've seen where that perfect plan unraveled in the first inning. So it's not all the same and treated all the same. But, man, it would be tough if I made 28, 30 starts and I was told, yeah, we need you, but we don't need you to the second inning because we don't want you to face the first 3 hitters in the lineup. That would be mentally, but if you don't buy in, it would definitely affect you long term.
John, the numbers don't even say that it works. You can look at the numbers in the postseason of how it works with an opener, and it doesn't work. And I think to the point you're making is, okay, I can get it. I can get what they're doing, right? You have Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman are going to hit 1 and 3 in a lineup. Let's throw out a lefty if we're going to start a righty. And that's not one specific example. I'm just kind of saying in theory, that's what it is. We're going to match up a lefty just to get through those guys, no matter the team. And that does make sense to me. But I feel like what you're omitting is the feelings and emotions and the superstition that comes along with the human baseball player that is being put in two different positions. The reliever starting a game and the starting pitcher that started 30 games all year coming in out of the bullpen in game two. You're changing everybody's performance and build up to what they've done all year long.
Yeah, my point is if Imanaga had done this 5 times during the year, I guess you could say he's used to it. I think this is the first time they did it. I think. And I could be wrong. I haven't followed the Cubs all year, but that's the shocker. That's the one that goes, now? We're doing this now? Like, you're telling me I'm not good enough. Basically, indirectly, you're saying, yeah, I've given up a few home runs. I'm totally on my game. And I'm not good enough to face the first 3 hitters, which I'm going to have to face eventually in the game. And if I'm not going to face those first 3 hitters, then it's a different conversation. So you're right. This has been the nuance that over time, I can make an argument more games, crucial games have been lost for it than they've been won, because you're asking a lot of components to do a thing that you're asking your starter to fill a gap and not really start the game. So again, everything being said, it's not all equal, but I wouldn't be crazy if Bobby came to me hypothetically and said the first 3 hitters are left-handed. We want you to start in the 2nd inning, and then maybe when you get to those 3 same left-handers, you'll be okay. Like, it's just a mental, psychological thing that you've got to deal with when you face those 3 left-handers every time you've faced them before and started the game. So we do put way too much attention and way too much into a postseason game. I think that's why some teams don't play to their best, and that's why guys don't have a moment. You don't let guys have a moment in the postseason because you're afraid if things get unraveled, your plan that you have in place that works on paper, it doesn't always work.
Yep. Well, John, always appreciate the time. Great job on the Yankees Blue Jays series. That was a fun series, a fun watch, and enjoy the ALCS. We don't know who they'll be playing yet, but we know you'll be in Toronto.
No, I'll be in Toronto. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. See you, John.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Just wanted to thank John Smoltz again for joining us here on the show. It truly, truly always means a ton. And man, was he fired up about the opener. You could see the frustration. He voiced his frustration. I would probably try and find a new organization, he said. Pretty strong words. He hates it, and I get it. It's not proven to work. You're putting 2 pitchers in totally different environments. I don't love it either, but we see it all the time in the postseason. I get the philosophy, but the numbers don't exactly tell us that it works. But really fun conversation. Obviously was on the call for Yankees Blue Jays, so he was very knowledgeable about that series. And he'll be heading up to Toronto in a couple of days, and we'll talk to him from that series as well. So please, if you don't watch, make sure you check out our YouTube channel. You can watch every episode. Flippin' Bats Pod is our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video. That really helps. And leave a comment. That also helps. But I just love hopping in the comments after an episode comes out and kind of continuing the conversation with you all. Whether you have a question or just a comment about the show, I love hopping in the comments and talking to you all. Wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, follow us there, and on all social media at Flippin' Bats Pod everywhere. We put out a lot of fun clips from the episodes, a lot of fun updates, and just good stuff on social. So check that out wherever. Again, I appreciate John Smoltz for joining. Appreciate you all for watching or listening. What we have coming up this weekend: 1, some incredible playoff baseball. But 2, on Sunday, I am doing another live stream on MLB's YouTube channel to preview the AL and NLCS. So that'll be a live stream on their YouTube channel. And what I'm going to do this week is also stream that to the Flippin' Bats Pod YouTube channel. So if you're here, you'll be able to see that. It's a live stream where I can look at the comments and comment back and forth and preview the series. That's going to be a lot of fun. And that's going to be Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Pacific Time, and the ALCS will start Sunday night in Toronto. So a lot of fun stuff coming up. New episode of Flippin' Bats will be coming out right around then as well. Probably Probably Monday to talk about game one and to preview the CSs as well. Maybe before that, but I'll keep you posted. I appreciate you all for watching and listening. And until next time, enjoy the weekend of playoff baseball. And remember, find your bat and flip it. Peace.